Your title introduced you, but can your presence sustain you? If you take the robe, the title, or status away, what's left? If you need a title to lead, you're not leading yet. Real leaders don't depend on what they wear. They lead from who they are. In John 13, the disciples were watching, and the one with all authority stood up, not to command anything, not to correct them, but rather to remove something. Jesus took off his outer robe. This was not just a piece of clothing. The outer robe was a visible layer of honor. This covering signaled, this is the teacher, this is the master, the one who had authority. This covering carried a title, a position, a status, and expectation. It was what identified Jesus in the room. And without announcement, without explanation, he laid it aside without saying anything. In John 13, verses 3 and 4, Jesus said that he knew these things. He knew where he came from. He knew who sent him. He knew where he was going. And this was critical. This was not a crisis of identity. These were markers. This was Jesus confident of his identity. Now, most people spend their lives trying to put on something. They put on titles, recognition, platforms, networking organizations, fraternities, sororities, Masonic affiliations, and other markers of validation. But Jesus showed us something different here. Real leadership begins when you are willing to take something off. Because if you need the robe to prove who you are, you don't know who you are. Jesus removed the robe because he was already secure. And this is the difference between performance and power. Some leaders cling to the robe because they fear being unseen. And let's be clear, the robe itself is not wrong. It represents earned honor and rightful authority. But true servant leadership is revealed when you can lay it aside and still remain anchored in who you are. Because the strongest leaders are not defined by what people see on them. They are sustained by what God has placed within them. But Jesus was about to prove something. He was about to prove that authority is not what you wear. It is what you carry. Because the moment you have to announce who you are, you have already weakened it. And many people are exhausted, not because they are doing too much, but because they are wearing something they were never meant to depend on. The image, the expectation, the pressure to appear. But Jesus teaches us this. True authority is proven when you can set aside what honors you and still remain unmoved in who you are. Before you lead others, you must detach from what validates you, because servant leadership is not about lowering your value. It is about removing anything that competes with your identity. Jesus removed his garments, but he never removed his authority. He set aside what could be seen, so what was within him could be revealed. Not because what was visible was false, but because it was never the source. The robe could identify him to others, but it could not define him. So he removed the external layer. This was to demonstrate that true authority does not come from what is displayed. It flows from what is established within him. Because what is real does not need to be seen to be powerful. It only needs to be present. If your leadership requires a robe in academia, ministry, a medical code, a title before your name to be recognized, you're still leading from what you wear and not from who you are. Now, my goal is to empower, to educate, and to elevate. God bless you.